In this video, I'm going to launch a rocket into space using some visual effects. Kinda like this. But before I show you the rest, let me show you how I did this. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Hasselblad. I'm 22 years old and now I'm a VFX artist based in Sweden. And this is my first ever tutorial, so I hope you enjoy this. Alright, so first of all, I need to create a storyboard. I need to draw my shots. And I know that my scene is gonna contain 3 VFX shots. Alright, so the first one, I know the location of where I'm going to shoot this, so I know roughly what I'm about to draw. So for the first shot, the idea is to have my subject in the front, which is my friend. And then we're going to have some trees in the background. And behind those trees, we're going to launch the rocket. And for the next shot, I'm going to do the exact same thing, just from a bit higher up and a bigger perspective. And for the third shot, I'm gonna come back and I'll explain it later. Ah, look, we got a storyboard now. Great, it looks awesome. Just kidding, we're going to make it awesome. So I, in secret, went ahead and I filmed my shots. I got my drone ready, I had my friend ready, and I did it. And this is how it turned out. So now I'm going to 3D track my footage. Or some people call it match moving, which is simply just creating a 3D camera and mimicking the exact same movements as your real camera by tracking it so that you can place some objects into your scenes without them moving around when you're actually playing it. They simply just stick in place, just like this mushroom. And by the way, for the tracking, I'm using PFtrack. Alright, now before we move on, I want to tell you why I'm not going into the greatest details. And that's because I want everyone to be able to follow along. I know that everyone doesn't have the same program as me, so I'm trying to do my best for everyone. So if you're using Blender, Houdini or Maya, or whichever program you prefer, it's still gonna work out for you, because with every 3D program, it's gonna be the same setup, just different buttons. Alright, now before I actually start making the effect, I need some reference. Because the best way to create an effect is actually finding some reference and trying to recreate something from real life. I need to know how the smoke behaves, I need to know how the space rocket behaves when it launches up. And what better way than actually looking at a real life rocket launch? Alright, so I found 2 videos, and the first one is a space shuttle from NASA that's launching away. And the smoke looks really thick and the launch is great, but I don't have a space shuttle model. But I have a Falcon 9 model, which is a SpaceX rocket. It looks cool and it's what I want, but the way it behaves with the smoke is not what I want. Because when I looked at the video, it doesn't really launch away like the space shuttle. So this is what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna use the SpaceX rocket, but I'm gonna make the smoke look like the space shuttle smoke. It will all make sense in the end. Alright, so I imported my rocket into 3ds Max, but feel free to use any software you want because it's gonna work. And then I animated it to be flying up. And then add your tracked footage as a backdrop. So then what I did is I took 1 frame from my footage and I created an HDRI from that, so that the light is gonna match the real life footage. Alright, so next up, let's create the smoke. And for that, you need some particles. And before we start making the particles, let me show you how I actually did it, because it's really important. Alright, so let me show you. I'm going to draw this as detailed as I can because this is really important. Alright, so let's start by drawing the rocket itself, just like that. Now we need some particles to be shooting down from the rocket's exhaust, just like this. Awesome. And these particles are going to emit some smoke plumes. And one of the smoke plumes is going to go to the right here, and it's going to be rising up. And the exact same thing is going to be happening to the other side, on the left. It's also going to be rising up. And by force, this should be going straight up like this. Okay, but you know what though? Let's just move on and I'll show you how I did the particles. So the rocket is flying up, and we need some particles to be flying down. So we're creating a particle emitter from the bottom of the rocket, from the exhausts. So that's going to be the main smoke. Alright, and then we need 2 more emitters down at the ground that's going to activate as soon as the first emitter hits the ground, so that we can get the smoke plumes going to the right and to the left and rising up. Alright, great. Now let's add the actual smoke. Alright, so add a smoke simulation and then add the particle systems that we created earlier to act as the source for the smoke. And then you just have to tweak some settings and then just simulate it. And voila, just like that, you got yourself some smoke. Okay, stop. This was not a voila moment. I had to tweak a lot of settings to make the smoke look like that. And also the simulation produced a cache that was over 500 gigs and it took out one of my 4 SSD drives. So this is very high res. Make sure you subscribe. Yeah. Alright, so while we're talking about subscribers, I've noticed that almost 100% of my viewers are still not subscribed. And I think that has nothing to do with the fact that my videos actually suck and that my YouTube channel has no motive at the moment. But I believe that this video will save the world. So consider subscribing and also hit the notification bell. It will let you know when my next video is coming out. Alright, so you got your rocket animated and you got your smoke. So what's left now is just putting it in the right place. And just like that, we have the first shot done. Now for the second shot, it's the exact same thing. You just place everything that we did into that shot, and then you're ready to go. And then for the third and final shot, which is a bit more special, and I told you earlier that I was gonna come back to it, and that's because I never actually filmed anything for it. So I don't have any footage, because what I thought is, I've never done a full CG shot. So let's just make a full CG shot. So basically what I did is, I used the same exact setup, but I just removed the camera and the tracking data. So now we just have the smoke and the rocket. So then I created a new camera and I animated it to be above the rocket. And then the rocket is gonna fly past the camera and the camera is going to tilt up. Alright, now because the camera is looking down, you're going to be able to see the ground. So what I did is I went to Google Maps and I stitched together like 20 really detailed images. And then I projected it in my 3D program onto a geometry to act as the ground. And then I just scaled it up so it could be at the right scale. Alright, great, so we got all the 3 shots ready. And all we have to do now is just to render them.
It's done.
Alright, so the rendering is finished and all we have to do now is just put them into your favorite compositor. In my case, it's After Effects. So go ahead and add your background and then drop in your rocket and the smoke that you render out. Then all that's left to do here is just making it look perfect, just tweaking some bits. Make sure that you mask out the trees. Then maybe just add a flare to the rocket and don't forget the reflections in the water. And then add a camera shake, because everyone loves camera shake. And then I did the exact same thing for shot 2, but there's one difference. When I masked out the trees, instead of using a matte, I used something called a projection map, which is simply just 3D tracking your footage again and then freeze framing one of the frames. And then taking that one frame and projecting it by using a 3D light onto a 3D plane in that area you want to mask out. In my case, it's the trees. And the reason why I did that is because I don't want the mask to look wonky. I want it to stay in place in actual 3D space. And just like that, the rocket is behind the trees. Alright, great. Now for the last shot, you do the exact same thing and just super comp it, whatever the f you want, and just make it look perfect. Great, and then I sent it to Premiere and I added the sound, the music, and everything, and I color graded it, and I made it look awesome. And let me present to you the final result.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, now if you like that kind of content, then make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and that will let you know when my next video is coming out. And if you want to watch the rest of the film, just click right here, because I only included the part with the VFX in it. With that being said, my next video is probably going to be about the Hulkbuster and how I did that, so stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one.